If I told you the U.S. military has not been used for the defense of the United States since the Civil War, and that it has been expressly used by certain international controlling families, would you understand? Thank you for watching the Shikama Live Show, produced by Balanced Enterprise in association with www.lasvegasnevadadui.com. Now, the statement I just made is pretty bold, and a lot of people are going to get defensive about it and say that our military is used to defend the United States. From the time of the Civil War to the formation of the entire United States, the U.S. military was used by certain controlling international families. And in fact, the Civil War was actually more of an international family war than it was a war between competing states. You have to remember a lot of the states were controlled by certain families. They were not controlled by a popular election as we like to romantically think about it. The problem is they don't teach you this in school. If you go through history, you will see that it is the families that are controlling all of the conflicts that are happening and not the people of the United States, nor for the defense of the people of the United States. For instance, we're told that World War II was to defeat Hitler. While World War II might have been to defeat Hitler, it was actually an international money struggle more than anything. It was to gain certain international controlling families control over certain monies. They tried their best to do this by a world conflict. The United States specifically did not need and should not have gotten into World War II. That's right, I will repeat that. The United States did not need to get into World War II. In fact, the country was opposed to getting involved in World War II because it was seen as a European conflict, which it was. The only reason that it involved certain countries outside of Europe, Africa, Australia, is because the European nations and the European families that control those nations also control those territories. Had it not been for that fact, it would have been solely a European conflict. And when you review the documentation from World War II, Hitler took about 15 years to come to power. There was ample time, ample warning for everything. And now famously, since we declassify the documents, we know that the United States was involved through a false flag operation that could have been stopped easily by the U.S. government and the U.S. military. That is to say, the sinking in Pearl Harbor by Japanese planes was completely avoided and could have been stopped, and we would have not have gotten involved. But they allowed the Japanese to sink our ships in Hawaii, which then was promoted as a means to get involved in World War II and to bring the United States under further control of certain international controlling families. Now, let's fast forward to the year 2012. And before I get into talking about the military specifically, let me tell you this unequivocally, without a doubt, factual evidence. The CIA is not a branch of the government, is not controlled by the government, may be funded in part by the government, but it is not a government entity. It is a direct source controlled by certain international controlling families. The CIA. Yes, you heard it. This is not something that people want to talk about for fear of whatever fear they have. But let's go to the U.S. military 2012. Under questioning from Senator Sessions at a Senate Armed Service Committee hearing on March 7, 2012, Defense Secretary Leon Panetta and Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman General Martin Dempsey indicated that international permission, rather than congressional approval, provided a legal basis for military action by the United States. I'm going to get into the actual hearing. Senator Sessions, do you think you can initiate a no-fly zone in Syria without congressional approval? Secretary Panetta, our goal would be to seek international permission and then come to the Congress and inform you. And to get permission from the Congress, we would have to discuss that at that time. Meaning, they would already have made a decision based on international permission, and they would be simply going to Congress to tell them, not seeking authority. Senator Sessions, what sort of legal basis are you looking for? What entity? Secretary Panetta, obviously, if NATO made the decision to go in, that would be one. If there was some sort of international coalition, some sort of UN resolution would be one. Senator Sessions, so you're saying NATO would give you a legal basis and an ad hoc coalition of nations would provide a legal basis? Secretary Panetta, we can't just pull a coalition without some sort of legal basis to act. Senator Sessions, who are you asking for the legal basis? Secretary Panetta, obviously if the UN passed the security resolution, as they did in Libya, we would do that. If NATO came together, as we did in Bosnia, we would rely on that. Senator Sessions, I'm baffled how an international assembly provides a legal basis for the U.S. military to be deployed in combat. I don't believe it's being close to being correct. They provide no legal authority. The only legal authority that is required is the Congress and the President and the Constitution. To which Secretary Panetta said, let me correct you and let me make this clear. When it comes to the defense of the country, the President of the United States has the authority under the Constitution to act. When it comes to an operation where we're trying to build a coalition of nations to go in and operate as we did in Libya or Bosnia, we want to do it with permission either by NATO or by the international community. Now, I'm not mincing words here. You heard it from the horse. I'm not mincing words. The U.S. military, I can almost say never, has almost from the start never been used to defend the United States. That's including in World War II, which was already won. You heard it correctly. If you are a student of history and a student of World War II, you will understand that D-Day did not have to be taking place. D-Day was literally a U.S. president throwing thousands of lives of American citizens away. Throwing them away. D-Day did not have to occur at all. And in fact, the way that it was even operated was done at the express disagreement over certain generals. including they wanted to do the same thing in Japan, which would have been a repeat of thousands of lives slaughtered. The United States did not need to go into World War II. We were not defending precisely, technically, we were not defending the United States. The war was already won. A lot of people want to stand up and beat on their chest and say how Americans saved the world. It did not. I'm sorry to tell you, that is not correct. I only speak the truth, and the truth does hurt sometimes. Now, that conflict, as I said, was not a conflict of Hitler trying to control the world. It was a conflict of certain international controlling powers using Hitler and all the other nations to wrest control, meaning to wrestle control of money and nations to their own schemes and controlling interests. That included all of the other little territories and other continents, Africa, Australia, Asia, and North America, and South America, getting involved in that. It was just icing on the cake. The U.S. military has, like I said, almost never been used to defend this country. Now, why am I trying to put this forward, and why am I giving you evidence and trying to prove beyond a shadow, other than having been to law school? This notion that the U.S. military needs to be upheld and observed and respected is unfounded. Why? Because the U.S. military is operated just like the CIA. That is correct. The U.S. military is used for the interest of certain controlling families. Libya is a prime example of, and Afghanistan and Iraq is a prime example of the U.S. military not defending the United States, not taking care of any threat whatsoever from outside. Libya, Iraq, Afghanistan did not pose a threat to the United States and probably never will. None of them. Iran does not pose a threat to the United States, nor to its citizens, nor even to its citizens abroad. That is correct. The U.S. military literally is serving the interests of certain controlling international families and directly being controlled by corporations, namely and mainly from Wall Street. Libya is a prime example, almost a case-by-case example, point-by-point example of the CIA and the U.S. military operating in conjunction to further the interests of Wall Street firms. Now, I just wanted to make this video to make sure people understood what is going on. People try to divorce themselves from politics, but I'm here to tell you politics is behind it all. And politics in this day and age is by certain controlling families. It is not by some sort of popular American interests or popular American protection. Libya did not serve to protect the United States. Iraq was not to serve or protect the United States, nor anything in the Constitution whatsoever, nor Afghanistan whatsoever. Regardless of what you think about 9/11, regardless of what you think you know about Saddam Hussein and Bin Laden, I contacted the CIA. Bin Laden is not or was not wanted in conjunction with 9/11 whatsoever. This is directly from the CIA and the Council on Foreign Relations, which I went to and contacted both of those organizations about bin Laden. He was not wanted for anything to do with 9/11. In fact, there are some people who go so far as to say bin Laden was completely and utterly made up. Not that there wasn't a person named bin Laden, not that there wasn't a great-great-grandson or great-great-cousin to the Saudi royal family named bin Laden. There certainly was. The idea that this guy funded a international, organized, highly operational terrorist group with sleeper cells all over the planet is laughable. It is laughable by the intelligence community, who knows that there is no person on the face of the planet that does have such a thing other than the CIA. You heard that right. The CIA is far closer to the threat bin Laden is supposedly the story of bin Laden posed than anything else on the planet. There is nothing organized anywhere. And in fact, the CIA is the arm behind organizing these supposed rebellions, the Arab Springs, these rebellions that are going on in all of these Muslim countries. The CIA is behind that. So if you want to look to terrorists, look no further than the CIA. This has been the this has been the Shikama Live Show. This has been the Shikama Live Show. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe. There is a contest going on. Follow me on Facebook. The link is on my channel. Go visit my channel. Give me a thumbs up and leave a comment. I'm sure this is will get plenty of people's goats as to what they were taught in public school. Sorry to say.